Hello, and welcome back to Bite Size Game History. On today's episode, we will be covering the immensely popular game known as Donkey Kong. So without further ado, let's get into it. Donkey Kong was created by Shigeru Miyamoto, a legend in the video game industry, someone that deserves an entire video to himself, and was released by Nintendo in 1981 as an arcade game, one of the earliest examples of the platform genre at the time. Nintendo had Miyamoto start work on a new arcade game, which became Donkey Kong, as a way to break into the American market. He derived inspiration from an array of other works such as Popeye, Beauty and the Beast, and King Kong. Miyamoto worked with Gunpei Yokoi, Nintendo's chief engineer, to develop and design the game. Miyamoto worked on the storyline for Donkey Kong prior to the game's programming, something not really done prior to this point. Hiroshi Yamauchi, the president of Nintendo at the time, wanted to specifically target the American market, demanding the title to be done in English. With this direction, Miyamoto decided to name the game after the ape, who he believed to be the strongest character. A myth was started on how the name Donkey Kong came to be, stating that it was misspelled or badly translated and was supposed to be Monkey Kong. The story has no credibility and is, as stated, not true. A more credible story says that Miyamoto looked in the Japanese-English dictionary to find something that represents stubborn gorilla. With a donkey being considered a stubborn animal and Kong being Japanese slang for gorilla, this belief was started. A final belief is that Miyamoto worked with Nintendo's export manager to decide on donkey to mean stupid and goofy. Miyamoto said himself that he believed the name would convey the thought of a stupid ape, making the last two claims most likely for how the name was decided. Miyamoto could not program the game solely himself, so he came up with the concepts and consulted a team of 4 technicians to check if they were capable. Yokoi thought Miyamoto's designs were too complex to program, along with finding out some of his design concepts were too hard to program as well, such as a catapulting seesaw to launch the hero across the screen. Miyamoto thought to use sloped platforms, barrels, and ladders for the game, and upon telling the 4-man programming team he intended there to be 4 stages, Miyamoto was met with complaints from the men, saying he basically wanted them to make the game 4 times. Regardless, they followed Miyamoto's design choice, creating a total of 20 kilobytes of content, which is insane to think of how large game downloads are nowadays. The Donkey Kong game was the first game to have a storyline visually unfold on the screen. With its 4 unique stages, Donkey Kong was the most complex arcade game at the time. The 4 stages each represent 25 meters that Donkey Kong has climbed, with the final stage being 100 meters. Donkey Kong himself is the villain of the game, and the playable main character, originally not named and then named Jumpman, is the actual first appearance of Mario, or his father, based on your beliefs. Mario is another massive character created by Miyamoto, but we can save that for a future video. The story follows Jumpman, who is out to save his girlfriend Pauline, who had been taken captive by the gorilla Donkey Kong. The game starts with Donkey Kong climbing up the ladders and setting Pauline down. He then proceeds to stomp his feet, causing the girders to fall and the ladders to break, setting the start of the stage for Jumpman to begin his ascent. The gameplay focused on moving the hero Jumpman across a series of platforms while dodging and jumping over obstacles. The next 3 stages follow a similar pattern after Donkey Kong flees from the previous stage. He will begin by stomping his feet once again and setting each stage. Completing 4 stages counts as 1 level completion. The game will then repeat, with Donkey Kong and the fireballs increasing in speed and intensity. After completing 3 levels and moving on to the 4th level, there is instead 5 stages, with the 5th stage being where Jumpman can finally save Pauline, defeating Donkey Kong in the process. The game does continue beyond this point, as a kind of to see how far you can get situation. However, the 22nd level is considered the kill stage since Jumpman randomly dies. This was caused by an error in the programming, effectively ending the game. Many makers of game consoles were interested in purchasing the rights to the console version of Donkey Kong. Nintendo, however, gave the exclusive console and tabletop rights to Coleco, a company largely known for its own console, ColecoVision. Nintendo had believed that Coleco was the hungriest company, as well as a well-established US company that could better handle for the marketing of the product. Coleco did not do a standalone game cartridge for Donkey Kong, rather bundled it with their ColecoVision, which went on sale in August of 1982. Coleco sales doubled upon the release to 500 million, and their earnings quadrupled to 40 million. Coleco sold a total of 6 million copies of the console version of Donkey Kong, grossing 150 million in earnings. Coleco also sold mini arcade tabletop versions of Donkey Kong, along with Frogger, Pac-Man, and Galaxian. Outside of Coleco, Atari had obtained the computer rights to Donkey Kong, although after the firing of the then president of Atari, Ray Kaiser, Donkey Kong had fell through. It, however, was not completely gone, with Atari releasing several computer versions under the Atari Soft label in 1983. Donkey Kong was ported to the Nintendo Family Computer Console Famicom, and released in Japan on July 15, 1983 as one of the 3 launch games. Nintendo had also released it for the Western version of the Famicom, the NES, or the Nintendo Entertainment System, and launched in North America on June 1, 1986, and October 15, 1986 for Europe. All of the computer versions of Donkey Kong included the Cement Factory level, where most of the console versions did not, as well as none of the home versions of Donkey Kong had the cutscenes and animations available in the game arcade, due to the memory restrictions among other reasons. Donkey Kong also received a complete remake for the Game Boy in 1994, which included levels from both Donkey Kong Original and a follow-up title, Donkey Kong Jr. It started with the same damsel in distress premise, with the same basic 4 locations, however progressed to an additional 97 puzzle-based levels beyond that point. Donkey Kong was not without issue after its success, with Sid Sheinberg, the president of Universal City Studios, seeing Donkey Kong's success and believing it could be a trademark violation of Universal's King Kong. In April of 1982, Sid met with Arnold Greenberg from Coleco. Sid did so to threaten to sue Coleco for their home version of Donkey Kong. When Universal threatened Nintendo, Howard Lincoln and Nintendo refused to cave, and began to prepare themselves for a court battle. Universal sued Nintendo in June of 1982, and the company sent cease and desist letters to Nintendo's mini licensees. Universal City Studios Industry v. Nintendo Co., Ltd. was heard in the United States District Court in the Southern District of New York by Judge Robert Sweet. For 7 days, Universal's lawyers argued that the names King Kong and Donkey Kong were easily confused, and that the plots of the games were infringing on the films. Nintendo's lawyer, John Kirby, countered that argument, stating that Universal themselves had argued in a previous case that King Kong was in the public domain. Judge Sweet had decided in Nintendo's favor, awarding Nintendo the profits from Universal's King Kong game, damages, and lawyer fees amounting to $56,689.41. Nintendo and their licensees filed for counterclaims against Universal, and in May of 1985, Judge Sweet awarded Nintendo $1.8 million for legal fees, lost revenues, and other expenses. Nintendo had thanked their lawyer John Kirby by giving him a gift of a $30,000 sailboat named Donkey Kong, and the exclusive worldwide rights to the name of Donkey Kong for sailboats. A rather funny addition to the gift, if you ask me. And if John Kirby sounds familiar when thinking of Nintendo, that is because an additional gift they gave John was an honorary naming of a future protagonist after him, the little pink puffball known as Kirby, my personal favorite Nintendo character. Enlarged Donkey Kong was really well received, especially in the US and Canada, initially selling 2,000 units after its July 1981 launch, and by October was selling 4,000 units a month. By late June of 1982, Nintendo had sold 60,000 Donkey Kong machines, earning them a whopping $180 million. Nintendo then earned another $100 million in Donkey Kong's second year of sales, totaling $280 million, or equal to $772 million in 2019. That's a lot of money. Donkey Kong had many firsts for the gaming industry, and really stood itself out from the crowd of games at the time. Nintendo capitalized on the success, making a few sequels of Donkey Kong, as well as establishing Donkey Kong and Mario in their own respective franchises, making the characters household names to the point of even someone who has never even touched a video game likely knows these characters by name. I personally believe Nintendo's Donkey Kong helped bring depth to video games, showing that video games could tell a story rather than just be something you played. So thank you, Miyamoto. Thank you, Nintendo. Your early contributions and 100 cents have helped make video games what they are, and that will never be forgotten. Thank you for watching this episode of Bite Size Game History. Please like and subscribe for content in the future. Let me know of anything involving video games you would like to see a bite-sized history done on in the comments down below. Thank you, and have a beautiful day.